Good day, AO. My name's Joel Gandara, coming to you from Miami, Florida. And for those who don't know me, I operate multiple e-commerce websites, have a fulfillment center, and I'm now getting into software and developing a software business. So busy in a lot of things, but I'm not busy in the day-to-day in those businesses. I actually retired a few years ago from day-to-day operations when I was 39. And thanks to AkaShawnThomas and AO, I got started coaching people just over a year ago and absolutely love it. It's what I'm the most passionate about and the most fun I've had in business in my whole life. So really enjoy it. So let's dig in. We've got just a few questions. And by the way, I do want to throw one thing out. It's Christmas break right now, and I've got all 4 kids at home, so I am sitting outside, and this is the best angle and spot I could find. And there was a lot of glare on that TV, but I figured I'd pop up the AO website, at least have that in the background. All right, first question is from Bob Gigier. How do you know when to call it quits on a business idea? Over the past decade, I've launched 5 or 6 businesses, set up e-commerce sites, obtained sales, then stopped when I didn't believe I could turn a profit. Now, with my current venture, I'm in the same spot, and I'm not sure if I should push forward or switch gears to one of my other entrepreneurial ideas. Elevator pitch. Over the past 2 years, developed a skincare / massage product, and I'm looking to build a brand and company around it. So, Bob, you know, if everybody, and I'm not talking about you, just in general, let's pretend there's a person and everybody says that guy is rude. And the guy says, well, that guy thinks I'm rude, and so does that one, and so does she, and so does she. Well, after a certain amount of people start thinking something, it might be true. Or if you're in one relationship after the other and after the other, you never can find the right relationship. You might have to start looking inside and wondering what's going on, what could I do differently? So I'm not saying you're rude, not saying you have issues in relationships, just making it with examples that most people can understand. That's quite a bit of businesses that you've launched to not have any of them succeed. So maybe, just maybe, there's a little piece you're missing. And you might be doing 90% of the things right, but there might be something missing that would be worth digging into. And if you're not figuring it out on your own, and that's fine, that's okay. We all have blinders on, we all have blind spots that we don't see. I would surround myself with people who can give me that honest opinion and not let me make excuses and call me out on that BS. Hiring a coach is a great way to do that, because that's what a coach is going to do. He's going to hold you accountable and question you and push you and make you think to kind of figure these things out. Something has not worked for the past decade, so something has to change. If you keep doing it the same way, you might keep getting these same results. So I would kind of stop the presses here and say, wait a minute, there's something I'm missing. I need to figure this out. I need to make some changes and reanalyze things. And like I said, I think that for me at least, it always helps to have that outside perspective of somebody who'll question me and kind of drill me. I don't want anybody to go easy on me. I want to get drilled so that it really forces me to think and pushes me. As far as calling it quits on a business, though, I've done that. I was invested in real estate. I was in my 20s. I got up to 6 properties, and I was managing them myself, and trying to keep that growing. And then later, the 2008 real estate crash happened, and I had to call it quits. I had to let some of those properties go because I was in South Florida here in Miami, where I think it was the #1 or #2 hardest hit market. Everything crashed. And I couldn't keep making mortgage payments and association payments and all these payments, property tax payments, to empty homes that I couldn't rent and I couldn't sell them. So that was one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make. Someone with an 800 and something credit score, never paid a payment late, and I had to go through a decision that for a little while ruined my credit, right, for like 7 years. And it's fine. I didn't have to buy a house during that time or anything, and I don't finance cars or anything like that. So, I had to deal with those consequences. But sometimes there's a macroeconomic effect that has to kind of control you, and you can't decide, you can't choose for yourself because there's a bigger problem. But I'd really question this, Bob. I'd question myself, and I'd find somebody to really push you and question you, because they're going to get the best out of you. You probably know what you need to do, but it's so deep inside that you got to get somebody to pull it out of you. And if I could recommend a book that might help with this, if you absorb it properly, it's The Alchemist. I think the author is Pablo Coelho from Brazil. Very good book. And it talks about, I don't want to give it away, but I think in this situation, it could help you get some perspective. All right. Next question is from Mary Rantaquilio. How do I determine how to pay someone to do work for me? I have a therapy machine for horses and have now found a person to hire to use it. What would be the best salary alternative? Hourly paid or per treatment? One treatment is 30 minutes and minimum charge is $50. The person knows a lot of people and is located in a training center for horses, and there is demand right away. I'm a veterinarian currently working with small animals as a contractor. Okay, so I don't know, and it's not that I always want to copy what other people are doing, because I don't think people always do things the right way, but I do like getting inspired by other people and their way of doing things, right? So I would see, how's everyone doing it? This company does it this way, this one does it this way, and this one does it this other way. What do I like about all of those that I can kind of steal from? So in this service business, I don't know the answer. You probably are the closest to knowing because you know this world and this industry. But I will just share a general idea, and it's that I personally like everyone I work with to be incentivized. I want that person that's working with you to make money. I want them to grow this thing. I want them to treat it like they're an owner. And if you do that, then it's not you farming out tasks to everybody, because that's just more management, and you're not going to scale that way, and you're going to drive yourself crazy. And I like to be in business to be my own boss and to, write my own game plan and do whatever I want, and it's what I do. So how can you position that person to give you their very best? And that isn't about you. That's about them. What motivates them? What incentivizes that person? What do they want out of life? I have a client who has a personal training business, and they employ trainers, right? So they contact through the main site, which is the client I have, and that person will dish out work to other people. They'll charge something like $85 an hour for in-home training. They'll send a trainer to your house, and they buy packages and several $1,000s at a time. And the trainers that are doing this, they'll make, I don't know, $50 an hour. My client keeps the other 35 for setting it up and finding the lead and all of that sort of stuff. But it works, and it works because they found the right people. They found these trainers who don't want to go out and farm and look and call and make leads, get leads and sales. They just want to go do the work. So that's why this has worked for him. He's found the right people who are incentivized or happy enough to just say, oh, you're going to send me work and I'll go do it for $50 an hour. Great, that's all I want. They don't have these entrepreneurial aspirations of overtaking the business. Otherwise, they would have done it. He's got some of these people working for him for 10 years, making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, and they're happy with that. So it's finding the right person and setting them up for success in something that works for that person and works for you as well. My fear when I hear this immediately is, that person knows a lot of people in this industry. You're considering how to pay them. Well, what if that person goes out and just realizes, I'll just buy the machine and do this myself. I don't need Mary, right? So just something to think about. But I will say this, having said all of that, if it's a question between hourly and paying someone based upon the work, personally, I don't like hourly because, I don't know, that's not the most efficient, and we're not aligned. So if I want you to get a job done because that makes me money, then I want you to be reimbursed the same way that I am, right? I don't get paid, I don't earn more money because my workers work more hours. I earn more money because we do better things and grow and bring in more money. So I want them to be incentivized coming along with me as a percentage. So I like to share a percentage of income because that person then has ownership thinking and ownership acting, and I could just be at home like I am now, not worrying about my business and knowing that it's going to do well because they're all incentivized in the right way. You can check and measure and check KPIs and hold them accountable, but you don't have to be on top of them and worrying about everything. All right, and the next question is from Zach Williams. How can we differentiate ourselves and build a moat in a saturating market. Business description and background. We sell houseplants online and provide a wealth of plant care tips and information. We were a fairly early mover in the trend, but the market is saturating and competition is increasing. Therefore, the cost of a new customer is increasing. We have been focusing on producing content, increasing our returning customer rate, and lowering our prices. But we're looking for some other ways to build a moat and differentiate ourselves in the market. Zach, as a business coach, when I hear this, and these are all, what you wrote is perfect, great concern, what you worded it very good. My curiosity meter goes like through the roof because I have so many questions I'd love to ask you and kind of get in there and understand how big do you think this business could be? What are your plans? What do you want out of your life? You know, there's so much that just goes into this. And I know that may sound crazy because you're asking this very specific thing, but there's a lot that goes into it and it all comes together. Because I'm sure you all realize as entrepreneurs, you're not this business owner that at 5 o'clock punches a time card and goes home and your mind's free. Mine's not. My mind, from the moment I wake up to the moment my head hits that pillow, I'm thinking about business. And I'm thinking about life and everything, but it's all convoluted and mixed in my brain. So there's so much that goes into answering this question. And by the way, for anybody who doesn't know, a moat, from my understanding, because I like using that word too, is pretend you have a castle up on a hill and it gets invaded. You don't want it invaded. So what you do is you dig all the dirt around the castle, fill it with water, and now it's harder to get in because you just put a bridge, a drawbridge, you let in your soldiers, close the gate, and don't let the competition inside. I actually use that word a lot because I've bought, I lose track because I've bought different industry businesses too, but in just one industry, in apparel, in a certain niche, I've bought 12 businesses or 11. And the reason I've done that is in part to build that moat, because then I get to get information and brands, you know, intellectual property. I like that brand that's out there and my competitors are buying it, I'm buying it. If I had that brand, they wouldn't be able to take that from me. My competitors wouldn't even be able to buy it anymore because I'd own that brand. To me, that's building a moat. That's beyond building a moat, because then I buy one of my competitors' businesses and now I've got these 2 sites that are competing against the market, and then I bought another one, and now I've got 3 competing against the market, and so I've beyond build a moat. I've drenched it real deep. I've put alligators in it. I've put electricity in the water. You know, just things that will make it impossible to cross over. I've gotten rid of the bridges. We teleport in or whatever. You know, however you want to look at it. But building a moat is very important, and it's not just the traditional way. You know, build the business, sell more. Sure. Keep doing that, keep trying to do that. But one of the things you said is very good, increasing our return customer rate. Absolutely. I'm working with a doctor of physical therapy who owns some clinics. And something we looked at when I visited his location recently is that it's the intake process to bring in a new client is an absolute headache, dealing with the insurances. And I mean, it's like a full production to get someone in your system. So first of all, you had to get a lead. You had to get them in, calling, interested in your services, and then you have to do all this paperwork with the insurance or whatever. You get them in, and they may come for 3 appointments, 5 appointments, 10 appointments, whatever it is. But what I was finding is from that point, whenever they fall off and they don't come anymore, nobody hits them up. There's no flows, like Klaviyo flow of email that could notify that person, hey, we miss you, we'd like you to come back, does anything hurt? The moment you ask somebody, they might, oh yeah, something does hurt. Right? I probably need to go back to that physical therapist. They don't text. There's no text going to the client saying, it's been a few months, it's been a month, whatever it is, we'd like you to come back. There's nobody on the phone saying, you know what, let me run a report, or it automatically runs this report and emails you every day and says, here are the 12 clients that haven't been here in the last 45 days, whatever the number is. And you get that customer back because guess what? All the paperwork's done, getting a lead, going through, it's free money. Just get them back in the door and they're easier. In fact, I've read that it's 6 times more expensive to get a new client than it is to maintain an old one. So, Zach, you said you were an early mover in this trend, right? You hopefully have quite a bit of customers in your past, and hopefully you can trigger them to keep coming back and make you the only place to go to, right? So they're not going to your competitors. You know, if one of your advantages is that you've been in business from day one, and brag about that, you know, in business since, you know, something that'll get those people excited about maybe doing business with you. Hope that helps. Next question is from Aniza Fajardo. When first starting out with minimal clients and minimal budget, how would you start growing your email list to market to? I'm a financial coach selling to individuals who need financial education and planning. Well, Anisa, in that space, you've got to come off as the most prepared, most professional person ever. Because when you're dealing with people's money, it has to be at a high level, in my opinion. Um, and that relates also to a real estate agent. It's the reason that a real estate agent will wear an expensive suit and drive a nice car. It's just to give off that impression of wealth and success and relief to the client. Same thing here. You've got to dress the part every single day. You've got to carry yourself in a certain way. And look, you're starting out. You're saying, how would you do this with minimal clients and minimal budget? So I'm telling you the basic things. If you can't afford an expensive car, that's fine. You've got to do what you can do. But you've got to give off this illusion. It's not to fake it, but you've got to give off an illusion that you know what you're doing. And how do you best do that? By knowing what you're doing. Get to know your industry and do whatever you got to do, learn, have experiences talking to people. But here's the number one thing. It's talking to everyone. And if that means breaking out of your shell and you're uncomfortable, too bad. You want to get into this business, it's a people business, right? So I work with different people who manage money and investments and those sort of things for me, and I have to absolutely like that person. And how do you like someone? You got to get to know them. You got to have things in common. You got to not talk about yourself. You got to talk about all about them, right? And then this can start in a Starbucks line. This can start at a store. This can start with your friends and family, and then ask them for referrals, right? So you can just set appointments and go visit those people. And you're going to do this for years before you make any real money. You got to go into it knowing that. So you got to be patient for the result. Let's say your result is I want to hit $1 million in sales. Great. Be patient for that. That's going to take a while. But what you can be impatient about is the one thing you control is your effort. So if you want to be impatient, you're impatient, you want to grow this thing, you're going crazy, good, do it. Not about the result. You can't control that necessarily, but you can be impatient. You can go talk to people. You can go knock on doors. I don't know, whatever it is. Years ago, I worked for myself as a real estate agent, and I put on a suit many days, and I went door to door in my neighborhood where I used to live, and I knocked on the doors, and I introduced myself. Hey, I live 2 blocks down. My name's Joel Gandara. If you need anything ever, I'm right there. Here's my card, phone number, email, everything. If you ever want to see what your house is worth, love to help you, right? It's a slow process. It takes, you're at that door for, 3 minutes on average. Even if they answer or don't answer, you might be there 10 minutes. Some don't answer, so you just leave a card on the door and move on. But I had really meaningful conversations. I got tremendous leads from that and got business from that. So that's how it works. You've got to put in the effort. And I'm not saying you got to go door to door. I don't know what you could be doing. You could put it on social media. You just have to be top of mind so that when people realize, and hope maybe you're the one that convinces them that they have an issue, that they need to save for retirement, that they need to pay off their home, they need to get out of credit card debt, whatever it is, that they think of you, that you're that top thing, that top number one thing. And I'll share something with you. When I was a real estate agent, this is before social media was big, but I did a couple of times get really upset that friends of mine, I found out, sold or bought a house without me. They used a stranger, they used someone else, and I couldn't believe it. In the beginning, I was upset at them. Then I got upset at myself because I realized I was in control. I did not make myself top of mind. I did not make myself the person they thought of when they thought about real estate. And whose fault is that? That's mine. I should have been mailing a card every 6 months to them, right? To everybody, so that they're so reminded, not annoyed, but reminded in a nice passive way where they get a little reminder, a calendar in the mail, whatever it is, that they get that person to always be the one they call to when they want to buy or sell a house. So in this case, when they think about money and managing it, you're the person that they think about. Next question is from Abraham Marcos. At what point am I crossing the line between boss and employee? I recently hired a new employee. We've been paying him day to day to get him back on his feet. Recently, we decided to have him go full time and put him on payroll. I've already given him a pay advance, and today he asked if I would be interested in buying some HVAC material left over from a side job he did a while ago. I know this would help him out a bit, but at what point am I crossing the line between boss and employee? I'm really not sure how I feel about this, and I want to make the right decision and keep it professional. Well, Abraham, there's a couple things that jumped out at me, but the part about buying some stuff that he has, he's not a friend there. He's a supplier. He's a vendor. As long as you need those things and he's giving you a good price, why not? If I called you right now, Abraham, and said, "Hey, Abraham, I know we don't know each other too well. I did meet you at AO Live, but if I called you and said, "Hey, I've got this stuff. It's there in your area. You want to buy it? $500. It's worth about 1,000. Do you want it?" And it's a transaction. It's got to make sense for both sides. Every transaction in the free market has to make sense. It can't be a favor for somebody necessarily. That's not the best way of doing transactions. That keeps a lot of tension. So if it's stuff that you see it's a deal and you can make money off of it and use it, do it. Why not? Now, if you're doing this just to help them, that's not good business. That's not very smart. Now, I'll tell you the part about all this that really, to me, jumps out is day to day. Okay, fine. He put himself in a hole somehow. A pay advance, that's already to me is like red flags because I've seen these things happen in my experience. And it's like, what's next? When does this person dig themselves out of a hole, and why are they in a hole? Um, you know, it, I question those things because if someone's in that bad of a hole, they're either going to work like hell and be the best employee you've ever seen, or they're going to do questionable things because they put themselves in that hole. And most people I meet get in a hole and then they go in another hole and another hole, and it's all personal responsibility and just lack of good decision making. So be very careful because I've hired a lot of people and I've seen things like this, and I've given some advances and then the person just disappears on me, and I mean several $1,000s to employees who've been around for a few months and they're doing okay and they ask for money and then they're gone. So I'm not saying to everybody. I'd loan $50,000 to some of my employees right now if they asked me for it, and I know I'd be fine. But just saying to be careful because for the most part, most people are in the situation they deserve to be in life for a reason. Obviously, there's tragedies and there's accidents and there's bad things that can happen to anybody, any good person. But for the most part, think about it. Abraham, you're successful and you have this heating and ventilation and air conditioning company in Southern California, and you're doing well. And that's because of all the effort you've done. You're not living under a bridge for a reason. Somebody living under a bridge, there's a reason for it. Someone succeeding like you and a lot of the people here are, there's a reason for that. So just be cognizant of that. Next question is from Roland Bernath. Roland is smart. He gets his money's worth in AO because he asks questions. And they're always good questions. But whether it's good or bad, a question is a question. I would continue asking questions. All right. How do I create new structure within the company? Our family business is a decor and seasonal retail and wholesale store. In the store, we employ a total of 10 employees. The company grew over time, but there was never a time and energy allocated to systematically grow it. Currently, the employees are all rotating between being at the cashier, unpacking incoming inventory, sticking labels on inventory, placing the inventory on shelves. As everybody is doing everything, sometimes I feel like no one is doing anything. They are not responsible. There are a lot of mistakes. I need proper job descriptions and tasks. I believe I need to divide the store into segments, sales and product handling, create new job descriptions, etc. Roland, you hit the nail on the head. Humans, for the most part, are not responsible. They make mistakes. That's why you need what you're talking about here, systems. You need a system. So a product comes in. What's the rule? What do? Does everybody do it their own way? No. My recommendation is that you should dive into this and find the one way. What's the one way that you should be receiving inventory? What's the one way that you should be stocking stuff into the warehouse? What's the one way that you bring up an employee? The movie The Founder, it's about the McDonald's story. Ray Kroc shows something really interesting. The two McDonald's brothers did this so well. That's why they ended up getting bought out. And Ray Kroc was a jerk, but the story is interesting. The way those McDonald's brothers just made the right system. That's why they were able to hire anybody. You want to be able to have a business that you can hire the lowest of society's rung of intelligence. You don't want a business that requires PhDs to run. Can you imagine how expensive it would be to run your store? So what do you want? The reverse. You want to be able to hire minimum wage people who could do a great job. And the way that you do that is by having really good systems. And how do you get good systems? First, you need the process. So what's the process? Do you know what the number one way of receiving is? Do you know the best way to ring someone up, the most efficient, friendliest? You need to dig into your business, I think, and set those rules. And no one is going to do it as good as you, I don't think. And if you're weak on one spot or two, get some advice for that portion of it and bounce it off of someone and find the best way to do that. And then don't accept anything other than that. An employee cannot break the system. An employee cannot say, well, no, I like doing it this way. No, that's a fireable offense. The employee can gladly come to you and say, I think we should do it this way. It might be better. And if you adopt that, then reward them. Give them $100. That's a great way of doing things. But what I see is companies develop a system, and then guess what? People do it for a few days, and then one guy stops doing it, and then another one stops, and pretty soon, so you spend $10,000 on the system, and no one's following it. So again, a system is imperative. You have to have a good system. But number one is, what's the process? And that process could be manual. In the beginning, it could be manual. Just find the right process, and then we can talk about automating that process. All right, the last question of the day comes from Dan Razumovsky. For generating leads, what would be the best way to spend money? Home Advisor? Should I spend money on SEO? Should I hire an agency to take care of all of the needs? Should I focus on one platform or spread it out? Currently, I have 3 websites: adoinc.com, adoroofs.com, adoinc.net. I will be building adodex.com. I'm building out the websites so they can be more specialized and help out with SEO and having a wider reach of people. I do not know what direction I should head with marketing. There are different freelancers to manage Google ads, Facebook ads, or are there different? If I use Home Advisor, they send it to 5 people, and from all the leads I get, I only close about 40% due to the amount of people that they send them out to. Should I hire a marketing agency that will do the SEO, Facebook ads, and marketing for me to free up my time and have them be fully accountable? I found one in Colorado, Marketing 360. They also include that I can use the Denver Broncos logo and be the official Denver Broncos roof replacement and deck builder. The marketing agency will cost the most, but looking to get to the 1 million in sales for 2021. Need to really change up the game to get my own leads. We'll get a budget of $2,000 a month on advertising. Elevator pitch. Construction company specializing in decks and roof replacements, looking to grow to 5 locations in the state of Colorado, working with commercial and residential. All right, Dan, got a lot going on there. Number one, your goal of hitting $1 million in sales next year. Great. I don't know what you're at in 2020, so I don't know how much of a jump that is. Also interesting, have 5 locations. None of those talk about my favorite thing, which is profitability. Hitting $1 million, 10 million, 100 million, good if it's profitable. Because I can double my sales tomorrow in my business. I literally can flick a switch and double my sales. The problem is I won't be profitable because I'd have to do major discounting, spend a ton on ads, and I don't eat, I don't live off of the top line sales. I live off of the profitability of my businesses. So I'd love in the future, on a private conversation like this kind of is, it's between entrepreneurs, it's not out there, is to talk a little bit more about profitability, to focus on that, because that's the main metric. If you're going to invest in these Facebook ads and Google ads and all of this, that's fine, but make sure that they're converting, that you're profitable, that you're not overspending. Because having these big top line goals leads people, I see this all the time, to make poor decisions to achieve that. And then they achieve that, and big deal. So let's say you're doing $500,000 right now in sales, total sales, and you're netting 100,000. Okay, you're doing okay. What if you double the business and you get to $1 million, but you had to spend so much to get to that now you're making 50,000 total, because that extra $1 million actually lost you money, right? So be very careful about that. And as far as, I don't think anybody can give you an answer unless they're in your industry, a competitor, and he just opens up and tells you everything about him. So Home Advisor, sure, that could be a good way. SEO, maybe. SEO takes 6 to 8 months to start seeing results. So as long as you're patient and and you start you got to figure out, first of all, what words you want to rank for, right? And then once you're ranking, or let's say you're number 50 on new roof in my area. Well, make sure that next month you're number 49 or 48 or 47, and yet you are seeing improvement. And there are tools out there to see your SEO and how it's going. whatever agency you use for the SEO should be able to help you with that, but I would independently have software. I think SEMrush or something like that, I forget the name, but we use things like that to see where we are on SEO, and I believe in SEO. We've had great success organically through that, and in some of my businesses, we are 5 of the top 10 on page 1 of Google in the organic spots with different websites, different businesses that we own, just to make sure that we're winning those words organically, not through paid ads, which is still an investment. Obviously, you're going to spend thousands of dollars to get that. But okay, so yeah, there's a long question here. Yeah, Facebook ads, I'd try it. I would try everything, but you can't try something for a week and say, yeah, that didn't work, or a month. You got to try it for a while, but fail small. Invest little bits and see what's happening. And then, okay, this is not working at all. We didn't get one person. That's probably not working. We got one person here. Let's do a little bit more money. We went from $10 a day. Let's go to 20. Then let's go to 50. And let's go to 100 a day. And go with whatever's working. There's no magic formula here. No one, and they'll be lying to you if they told you we can figure all this out for you and have it all running. I haven't dealt with too many great marketing agencies. They all have sold me this great thing that they're going to do for me, and that maybe there are some really good ones at niche things, so you can dig around and try a few. It's going to be trial and error, really, until you get to find out what really works for you. Well, everybody, that's all the questions for today. Thank you very much for listening in. I know there's a few of you here, and a lot of you will see it on replay. Again, my name's Joel Gandara, and if you ever want to talk about coaching, talk to Sean, reach out, and we'll see if there's a match there. All right, guys, have a great day.